Okay, good evening. It is Tuesday evening. Really made the 12th. Oh, no. Sorry, Tuesday morning, I should say. And life goes on. We're living in a time where actually, we really need to understand what services is brought to individuals with the public education system. And for our people who look like me, actually, there's been little or no ability to advocate or to ensure accountability happens for all children. So anyways, here we go. I want you to look at this document supporting Nevada schools and districts to meet the federal Title I requirements. Well, what are those? One might ask. And truly, they are not meeting them for every student. The Family Engagement in Every Student Succeed Act. Title I, Part A, Section 1116, Section 1112. And see, let's not pretend that they don't understand when they're doing the work and they don't understand when they're not. Because truly, it really gets down to who is involved and who has the ability to benefit. And so we can really say we have a concern because this is 2020. Far too many of our children are not graduating, but more than that. More than not graduating is because they're undereducated and liable to do things for survival. But look at the undereducation of these children and understand the thievery and the fraud that took place during their lives because the lack of accountability and oversight. Who is the overseer in public instruction? Well, I have to say it's the people. Because when the people are engaged and the people who choose to be engaged are those the people who benefit, truly. And that's what's happening here. And so here in Las Vegas, the people who are participating have been granted, being on governing boards or boards. They have a lot of boards, nonprofit boards here. A lot of nonprofit people who do third-party services for children with no data and no outcomes, especially in the Black community. This is a comprehensive handbook for implementing an effective Title I Part A, a parent and family engagement program. This is produced by the student and school supports of the parent involvement and family engagement, whatever that is. These tools are not to be used by the department's monitoring team, but are optional tools for LEAs. LEAs are local educational agencies and Title I schools to examine their progress and to help meet the Title I-A, Section 1116, under Every Child Succeed Act. And that's that Barack Obama thing. I mean, how can I say this? Because truly, I have been working with some young men who made it to high school without being at grade level. Don't ask me how that happens. But there are a large number of African American male children, and now I say female, African American children of formerly enslaved, not bilingual, not African, I'm talking about the generational children that were freed and guaranteed that, that basic opportunity to learn with the integration stuff happened in the 60s. Regardless, we don't even have to get on that road. We don't have to keep on talking about what happened in the past because we know it was ugly, simply just ugly, and things that happened I just couldn't even think about. But I understand the power in today and the power in knowledge and the power in understanding what your rights are. And so understand, if you're not doing the advocacy for yourself, it's just not happening because somebody sees a way to get something for themselves. And quite frankly, isn't that life? Let's see what the handbook actually offers. This handbook will answer many questions regarding Title I parent and family engagement requirements. The staff will provide various methods of technical assistance throughout the year. Please feel free to contact us. So more information, They want you to contact the Department of Education, Student and Support Services. I'm surprised that they just don't have FACES down here, because FACES is what, that group called FACES is what Nevada was doing. I don't know who that is. But let's get down here. Okay. The handbook is designed a guide for Nevada schools and district staff, such as Title I directors, coordinators, family engagement coordinators, throughout the process of developing and maintaining effective Title I parent and family engagement. Well, would you think that the people who look like me will qualify to have the outcomes documented in their community also? And the excuse of they just don't come is unacceptable. Not because after a while, you've ignored that community so long that that community is just totally dysfunctional. And that's kind of like where we are. So irregardless of trying to rehash the past, she should move on to the future. And so over 50 years of research confirms that family engagement in child's education matters. Many studies found that across the income backgrounds, effective family engagement leads to higher grades and test scores, enrollment in advanced programs, improvement in school attendance, better in social and emotional skills, that just kills me right there, increased graduation rates, and higher college persistence rates. So let's just talk about this, because, parent involvement is critical, and parenting is critical. But then, for people, even me, I mean, I have to say that the men that I dealt with and had children with chose not to be a large part of their children's lives. And so 1, 2, 3, you're out. And so, but I have to look at my part in this, not understanding who I was, not having a higher standard for being in a personal relationship with any man. Because once you open yourself up, hey, anything can happen. The real deal is you need to learn how to love you first, because once you have a child, and if you can't love that child as much as you love yourself, then who are you really? And I can say, I know who I am, because I've loved my children to a point, like a mother should. But then on the other hand, there are other parents had health issues because they walked away from their personal responsibility, I feel. I feel that, God blesses you with a blessing. But if you choose to walk away from that blessing, then you get kind of like what you deserve. It's kind of horrible to think about it that way, but hey, this gray hair didn't come from nowhere. And it's not like child support in America is just another way of enslaving people. And so, it's not that I was a real, big person on child support, and there were times when I was on the system, but there were times that I wasn't on the system. And life pushes you to the pathway you should be in. It's just, my opportunities to maintain my parent level of involvement and engagement in my children's lives was merely, it happened. What can I say? And when I stopped working, well, workers' comp really didn't pay me anything, and I really got screwed. And I can say that, the law does not protect you as an individual. If you assume that there is some protection out there, then you're totally wrong. The law protects those who understand what the rules say. And if you choose not to participate in the governing process, and you pretend that you are not a part of America, yet you live here, and you pay a lot of money in taxes. And when Donald Trump was running for office, they said the secretary paid more in taxes than he did, because he had people hired to figure out how to beat the game. I mean, let's get real. There are ways around taxation that you don't have to be responsible for the amount of money, because you're, helping to build the economy, helping to build America. And all the time, the helping to build America comes from taxpayer dollars. And so when we really look at this COVID-19, number 19, meaning COVID's been out there for a long time, It's a flu virus, and I don't know, people have some patents going on here in medication. And, quite frankly, this is from the bottom to the top because just a couple of months ago, right before the pandemic hit, California and everybody was talking, and the president mentioned about the homelessness in the larger cities. And it was a real issue about the homelessness in the larger cities. But then when you have children who are in the public school system for 12 years, and then when they get out, they're unable to sustain themselves, what the hell do you call that? Can somebody tell me just what that is? I mean, I am so confused. At least when I was in high school, it afforded me the basic skills to survive. And that's basically all it was. And I wouldn't have even gotten that if my dad had not been in the Air Force. And we were in military schools the majority of the time. But I graduated from school in John F. Kennedy Senior High School. And when we first got there in 1971, those parents were out there protesting. They didn't want those children from the other side of the track to come over to Kennedy because that was a more affluent area. And what happened was that they built the school based on the numbers of the children who were in the poverty area of Sacramento, Lower Sacramento. And so they counted all those children in that area, South Sacramento, to build John F. Kennedy High School. But those parents over there who bought homes over there really didn't want those people over there. And over time, the educational system just went further and further down because the feeder schools to Kennedy came from the higher poverty area. And they like to push a lot of those kids over to Luther Burbank because Luther Burbank holds the district's summer school for the district's summer school for high school. And you should see how many black males are over there during the summer. But if you don't understand education, then, and most black people just don't. How could you? Because even after you go through all these years in public education, you can't get a goddamn job with a PhD. Somebody needs to help me. Because the PhD was supposed to be opening up all those doors. But when black people can talk about, they are aware of going through the whole system and still ending up where? In a Payless shoe store? Nope. I've had my fill of America and, the fight for justice. Because when it really gets down to it, it's just us who are forced to comply. And compliance is everything. In the public school system, when children are not reading and writing by the third grade, we're just continue to promote. And because parents don't understand this piece about adequate yearly progress and the maintenance of effort under Title I, and all the supports that are supposed to be beneficial and make life happy, makes life, gray hair. And I'm happy with my children. I am unhappy, however, with the quality of education that was provided in Sac City Unified School District. And that's the truth. I am grateful for the work that was happening around my last child, however, because he was in the spectrum. He was autistic, not in the spectrum, he was just autistic. And he had seizures, grand mal seizures when he was little. And so epilepsy qualified him for services. And we had lots of services. We had social skills group, and from 3 years old all the way up until 7th grade. And so all the greetings and all the things that children that are in the spectrum, that are autistic, have to learn by repetitive, continual tasks. But once they mastered it, they move on. Once they learn it, they move on. And so I was there for my youngest child's education because once he could tell me what the work he was doing, then he became responsible for the work. But hell, what do you do when children don't have any homework when they're in high school? And how many of them are there like that? Well, I just want to know because, the majority of the money comes from the funding from the children in poverty. And the federal government gives money back. But let's just talk about this taxation, shall we? What is taxation? Everybody pays taxes. And if you listen to the music, some of our greatest entertainers have wound up in jail for not paying taxes. But when we are taxed as a people, where is our voice in the redistribution of public services and the oversight and the ability to share a concern about what's happening? You see, a long time ago, the runaway slaves, they were running away. Slaves running away. And like I said, when I graduated high school, I was so upset to understand that the state of California actually paid American people insurance claims for the runaway slaves that were left in California. So I don't know how much they paid, but I know that I saw that. And I know that it was just troubling as a young person to understand that they were benefiting and then they continue to benefit. But then if you really understand, the continuance of benefit is right now, because this COVID-19 has exposed where our children are, and the quality of education, and the lack of understanding of the lack of maintenance of effort. Because these people just had jobs, and they didn't give a damn about your child making it. And I can tell you that. I mean, I chaired the DAC, and that was the District Advisory Committee for Title I and whatever, compensatory, education in Sac City and Price School District. And it was Title I. And, and a bulk of the money comes from the federal government for the number of children who are in poverty and the number of children who are qualified special education. See, these are federal dollars. Maybe they're not fully funding education, but the foundational skills should be measurable for all children. You can't just leave one subgroup out. Are you serious? I mean, even if you want to ignore people who come to board meetings and actually are not good orators and cannot clearly articulate a concern, because it really takes this issue of raising a child through the educational system and participating to understand just the level of oversight that you have the ability to have. Hell, when the LCAP, the Local Control Accountability Act, happened for the state of California, guess why that happened? I certainly wrote to Obama, and there's a Snow on the Bluff. If you go on Netflix and search for a movie called Snow on the Bluff, and it was just wild. And I couldn't believe it. But it was about the cycle of poverty and how a father had a child, and he could remember him standing at the table while his father was at the table dealing out whatever. You know what I'm saying? You just have to watch it. It's not that we can agree with survival skills of people making choices, bad choices, when they have no choices. But if you can't read and write, and you don't have any basic skills, it's not even labor that saves you anymore. Because unless someone opened the door for a skilled labor job, you don't have that either. So what were we doing with the people? Let's see. A couple months back, we were just shutting down, places where the homeless encampments were, and telling those people, hey, you need to get off the street. But we didn't have no resources, or at least I couldn't clearly see a process in which people participated to move up from failure or move up from the inability to sustain oneself. I don't know what we're really talking about here. We had so many people, and I saw beautiful older white women on the street, and I knew if someone could turn their back on a woman who was beautiful and who reminded me of the women on TV, the white women on TV, well, what would they do with us? Yeah, I knew that was troubling. And I could see how troubling it was, because simply, if you are this color, a lot of people try to ignore you. They act like you didn't say anything. I mean, they just act like, were you talking to me? Hmm. Well, you're not going to get anyone to tell you what they're doing with those dollars at the school site. And I said, but the law says, this is what the law says. Over 50 years of research confirms family engagement in a child's education matters. And let's just move on, because we want to get down to the pieces that really make a difference. I guess, come on now. Nevada took after what? Georgia? Okay. We know what happened in Georgia, don't we? What just happened in Georgia? Something really ugly. And then look, Texas too. Remember, I remember them dragging a black man behind a car. And even if they did go to jail, it's just the mentality that this shit happens consistently. And then we have to look at what just happened in Georgia and the father and son duo, and then the people in government who had to recuse themselves from participating in the conversation. And why did it just take so long? I mean, what are we saying here? Because we all understand that during the slave catching days, it was like the sheriffs that were doing it. And they just kind of like morphed into community protection. But what changed their responsibility for community protection for us? Because it was never about protecting us. It was always about the benefit of someone else. And so we truly have to live with failed services. And there is just no way to do advocacy. I have worked with young people, or particular family. And, in San Brandon, where the student was attending, he was in the 8th grade. And his mother kept on telling me, he's a 4.0 student. And I'm saying, okay, if he's a 4.0 student, why is he getting pushed out of the classroom every day? And why are you saying that he's special ed and he's being sent out of the classroom every day? By the time I really understood what was going on, this child had been misidentified. And then we went through the whole process of Office of Administrative Hearings, and that was a trip, because the director of special education wrote to the judge at the Office of Administrative Hearings office, and she said that she believed that the parent and myself were getting a unfair advantage. And so therefore, they held the district in whatever, you know what I'm saying? They fined the district, and the judge took herself off of the case that was there, and they assigned a new judge. And then we had to go through this whole process. But, the testimony from the teacher at San Brandon was unusual. He said that because, disabled people, well, that's why they're disabled, because they're in that class because they have a disability. And that means that they can't learn. And I'm just listening to him, trying to understand where the hell he was coming from, because simply, when my child was not reading in the 2nd grade, and we had issues in the communication handicap class where the teacher took his fingers and bent them back, and he said, owie, owie, hurt, mommy. Oh, you know what I did, right? I was there. We had an IEP meeting. And when she spoke up and said she would never hurt a child, I had to let her know. I sat in the classroom and watched her jerk children up out of the seat and take them behind the screen. And God knows what was happening behind that screen. But it happened, and I watched it. That's why I knew my son was going to be out of her class. And I took my son to Mark Twain Elementary School, where Rosario Guillen was there. But we spent a lot of time there, and we ran into teachers like the one at Caleb Greenwood, the one that bent my son's fingers back, like Mrs. Overman. I'll never forget her. Because quite frankly, she was my nemesis. She had my son, and she said that she was trying to help him understand that he was not going to have the same kind of level of pampering that he had in elementary school, because middle school would be different for him. And so, we were locking heads the whole time. But either way it went, I took him out of her class because she accused my son of trying to injure her by trying to throw a chair or some crazy stuff. And I know that didn't happen. I just know that didn't happen. So either ways it goes. For the last 2 months of school, I went every day, and Tyler went to the RSP room, and I sat there every day until the summer program was over. And the next year, we didn't have to worry about Mrs. Overman. But we had a great math teacher, and Tyler graduated from the 6th grade above proficient. Above proficient, that's a whole lot. Because we have to look at these children and understand that majority of Black children are below basic and far, far below basic. And what does below basic mean? Let me tell you. Below basic means that you are not at grade level. And if you are not at grade level, well, there's just no plan to get you at grade level, because every year you get a new set of curriculum and it's at a higher grade level. And if you can't complete the work, then that's what they do. They bring that to the meeting, a little sheet of paper, and it has checks and off where the teacher can just check the box. This is such an area of fraud, waste, and abuse, because we're having to house these children after they don't graduate from school. And that is no joke. So no, there is no maintenance of effort in special education in Sac City Unified School District for all the children. There's only a maintenance of effort for parents who understand the rules and can demand support services happen. That's how it works. And that's just real. Because if you don't show up, don't think you're going to get anything. See, in America, you always have to show up. So anyways, let's get back into Nevada, shall we? And their understanding of Title I, because, see, they have a commission over the school funding, and they're trying to rename or rewrite the requirements for the at-risk section of the law. And so, anyways, have a little sip here. This section provides an overview of the strong focus of ESSA, Elementary and Secondary Act, whatever, has a parent involvement and family engagement included in the section. The purpose of Title I, federal definitions, the general state educational agency responsibility under ESSA, and a comparison of Elementary and Secondary Act Title I, Part A, ESSA, and the ESSA Title I, Part A. I don't know, whatever. So anyways, we're just gonna talk about how Nevada just puts it out here. And so a summary and evaluation of methods, annual Title I parent and family engagement evaluation, I haven't even seen this. Title I family engagement budget sample, and addressing the findings. See, this is addressing the findings of the annual Title I parent and family evaluation. Well, you know, they can put that stuff out there, but where's the data? They have some guy who deals with integration and whatever, equity or whatever. But it was a $70,000 contract. But they didn't have they said, oh, here it is. This is our diversity something. And they paid somebody $7,000, but they just showed me the board action. They didn't show me no data that came behind that little spending of the money. So they can lump it out all they want to. But if there's no evidence of the maintenance of proof that documents what the hell you did, then you just stole the money. And see, here in Nevada, they do a lot of stealing. And I'll tell you why. Because what they get to do is leave positions blank at the lower performing schools and then put substitutes in those positions where they don't have to pay the full pay amount, the higher rate of the allocation of the employee, because they're putting substitutes in those positions. But those substitutes do not have to participate in the single plan for student achievement. They don't have to be responsible for that kind of data. So failure is just allowed. And this is some bullshit, because it is the federal government that gave me the right to have a voice. And if you think that I don't push the limit, understand that I do, because I've had to. But the reality is the law protects all of us. Not just one, not just two, and not just you because you've been engineering this shit. The responsibility to accept failure, well, that's what you would want me to do. If I had to accept that my son was not learning and I had to let you make that choice. But see, I didn't. Because if you have a child that has special education needs, what you get to do is demand that the state provide an outside evaluation for your child to determine the best maintenance of effort during an IEP meeting. And that means that you could have one every 3 months, every 2 months. They have to still show up, but you still have to have a concern as as a parent. So anyways, here's these policies. You know what policies are? Policies are not law. Policies are just how a local district implements the services. So that's what the board is for, to create those policies. Anyway, are we there yet? Look, the section of this, and it goes through this whole book, and you wouldn't think they put the law in here. But the deal is, who reads the book? Not a goddamn soul. I mean, this has not been approved yet, to my understanding. Because I look, it's coming up on another, on an agenda in May sometime, but not quite now. But anyways, it just got a checklist on the effective, it's what is that? What is that if it ain't happening for your child? So see how they encourage us to just pretend that their institutions are working for us. They have us in the picture. But it doesn't mean that that's the kind of relationship that we actually have with the educational system. So anyways, here we go. Title I, Part A is a federally funded program under ESSA. And the purpose of Title I under ESSA is to ensure that all children have a fair and equitable, significant opportunity to obtain a high quality education and reach at the minimum proficiency in challenging state academics and achievement standards and the state academics and assessments. While ESSA has many requirements, there are strong focus throughout the law on parent and family engagement. Why does that not happen here for people who look like me? I'm trying to understand, because it doesn't. Ensuring that high quality academic assessments and accountability systems and teacher preparation and training, curriculum, instructional materials are aligned with challenging state academic standards. And to do so, let's see, the student, teacher, and families administered can be measured by the progress against the common expectations for student academic achievement, according to families' substantial, authentic, meaningful opportunities to participate in the education of their child. Now, see, I understand all that, but most parents just won't. But irregardless, it really doesn't matter if they understand it or not. The opportunity and the documentation of the data demonstrates that you did it. Where's your evidence? But you don't tell me it's over there, but somehow they just don't go. Because you can't reach them, because that's not your job. It's not a job. It's the opportunity to build capacity where you are, not at the parent's home. And some of these parents ain't got no home. So, the distance education and all the things that would have to happen for those parents to participate, it's not like somebody gave them a room with some internet in it, right? But they are giving people rooms now where they said that they wasn't going to do it worldwide. They were just going to leave the homeless out there. Guess what God said? I don't think so. I just don't think so. And if you have faith in the universe and the universe taking control of what man was getting out of control and the pollution and just what happened up there in Flint. So, I have to ask myself, when I'm listening to Congress and they're talking about what was going on in Flint, are they talking about the impact of those children in the community and what that's going to bring to the world? We have a personal responsibility to step up our game. It was kind of like in 1976 when we were graduating from school. It was always about marching to the beat of a different drummer, but it was always about personal responsibility, somewhere along the lines. Because, we watched the Panther movement and we watched them lock up Black activists because they were Black and they were actively actively engaging in activities to support the community. But I mean, hell, what do we expect when you choose not to educate a whole segment of people who think that they're going to survive? Somebody's got to help me with that because I don't understand the allowance of failures. The state, across this nation, large states with a lot of people hold themselves harmless for not educating their population of people. And I mean, it's gotten so bad that it's one targeted group that just has maybe so few that are making it. But when they make it to the top. And so our best and our brightest are working in government and programs and services, but they're not representing us. They're representing themselves. And they understand they have a job, and it's just a job. Their job is not to save you. Your job is to save yourself. So read up. Understand that there are laws out there that actually provide support for us as a people. And they give us the right to have this wonderful conversation. And it's called the First Amendment rights. Freedom of speech and religion. Should we talk more? No. Let's just look a little bit further. Because we know that meaningful opportunities are not existing for children who are failing. So I just don't understand that if these are strategies that are supposed to be put in place, where's the capacity building? And where's the transition? And where's the accountability of this Title I Secondary and Educational Act anyway, since it's been 1965? This is 2020. And we are just sitting around allowing a large segment of the population for children. And, you would have to think Black children, something's mentally wrong with them. But I can't say that. What I can say is here in Nevada, I found that there are so few opportunities for early education for Black children because those services don't, they're in those areas, out there where those promise zones are. You know what I'm saying? But let's see, you go into those programs and it's not people who look like you, maybe a few. Well, in the world, all across America, if you're participating in the mainstream, there's only a few of you, a few people who look like me in the Capitol, or a few people who look like me in the Department of Education, or a few people that look like me in the board meeting. And there's just a few people who actually engage in the process. But that's not enough. That's not enough. When they killed that Clark child in the South area in Sacramento at his grandmother's house, and then I thought about how my children used to hop them fences when they was out too late trying to get home fast. That's not stealing. But even if there are children out there that are taking things in the night because they're hungry, well, hell, who stole from them their whole lives because they don't have any education? Now, see, the responsibility to accept personal responsibility when you're working in this arena called education is real because the state needs to accept the responsibility for the failed services. Where are those reparations? Because it's worse to say that you enslaved the people and then promised them something and then took that promise back, but then continued to oppress those people simply because you could, and you were first in the house, and you guys have been running things for so long, and then you created opportunities for your children to step right in without any accountability. Because that whole harmless clause, that means so much. But it affects all children, white, Black, or indifferent, whatever color. When there's no foundational skills and you can't measure the maintenance of effort for the funding allocated to provide support for all children. So, it is real. Parent involvement means the participation of parents in a regular two-way meaningful communication involving the students' academic learning and other school activities, ensuring that parents playing an integral role in assisting their children's learning. And see, integral means that the child can communicate with you about what they did in school that day. Or, that they can have a conversation. It amazed me that, I was watching Sonia Lewis, and she's on Facebook, and she's on my Facebook, and I've been following her for a while. But, she was at Kennedy when my children were at Kennedy. And I was a parent there, and I was there all the time. not just sometimes, but all the time. And I participated in a parent group where John L. Maryland and a couple other people. I remember John L. really well because he really gave a lot to the children because they needed so much. I mean, when you get to high school and you're not at grade level, just who's going to help you? I mean, the system does not sustain the children who reach ninth grade level and who are not at grade level because the curriculum stays the same. And the district saying they're Z-coding the curriculum, that would leave the individual teacher a lot to do for 30 students to individualize the curriculum. It's not going to happen, and it's not happening. So when teachers come to IEP meetings with maintenance of effort to saying the student just refused to do the work, and they're not psychologists. And if there is no data that demonstrates that the program that you're operating at your school site is working, then you're just stealing the money because you're just keeping your teachers employed. And quite frankly, I don't care if they don't have a job. People didn't care if I didn't have a job. You know what I'm saying? So why should I care if they don't have a job? And I don't care if we never go back to the brick and mortar schools because our people really need to understand that we were the harbor. We enabled a lot of dysfunctional programs to be maintained because we were there generating that money. And now we are not in the house anymore. But now we can ask the question, just where is my children? Well, where's my child? And how can I determine the maintenance of effort or the benefit of the educational opportunity that you're giving my child? Because see, technology was somewhere not where they wanted to go with our children. I mean, they had a lot of problems with my son having the phone until we made it an understanding that he was using his phone for his notes in Google Classroom and all of that. And, hey, it's real when you could operate a computer. It's real. And it's real when you can operate a cell phone. But when people just say, oh, you're paying attention to the cell phone too much and it's all about them, they ain't running no show because they don't have good communication skills. And quite frankly, if they can watch you on your cell phone, then they're not doing what they should be doing. Is engaging you as a child. Anyway, we can go through this. I can't, Nevada's parent involvement policy is with that FACES group. I don't know. It said they're moving forward and they're defining as a shared responsibility between schools, families, and communities. We are receiving equitable access tools and support needed for successfully working together towards the development of children for youth, college, and career lifetime learning. Now, that sounds wonderful, but did you see any data there? Hell no, you ain't gonna see none either. So bad. Excuse me. This talks about the requirements of the General State Educational Agency, State Educational Agency responsibilities under ESSA. ESSA requires state educational agencies to engage families in the development of their plans for implementing the federal law. Now, what does that mean to you? Most likely it don't mean shit, meaning that you don't know what it means. And you ain't got time for it because you barely have time to work and pay the rent. We're so caught up in process. I mean, if you have a child, then, you got, by a certain age, they have to be in school by a certain age. So is it really, a process that's established to sustain educational services and teach parents what they need to do when they have a child? No, because there's no requirement to have a baby. If God gives you one, then you got the gift. And there are some people out there that actually can't have that gift. And that's just real. And they go searching for the gift. And quite frankly, it is a lot of work. And it just doesn't matter. Because it's for your blessing and you take it as a blessing. And you benefit. And that's real. So, collecting and disseminating information to the LEA and schools regarding effective family engagement and practicing, providing technical assistance and monitoring the family engagement policies and practices of the LEA. That's the local educational agency. Providing notice and information to families regarding education of their children. All right. So I'm just trying to understand what we're in Clark County. Where is it happening? The maintenance of effort. What are you doing around your children who are Title I eligible, who did not make any progress? And basically whatever you said last year didn't make a difference. And so every year when you get the federal money, you get, what is it, 90 days to submit a new plan to get it approved. I mean, you would have to do that if you were really working on something, but you ain't working on nothing. I've not seen any changes, and none that I'm aware of, because I was able to find a whole lot of information about failure services, the failure of implementing educational options in, oh, my nose is, what to sneeze, in Clark County. Oh, goodness. The state agency must ensure that the local educational agency oh, let me need this water. Sneezing. But anyways, I need to pause. I need to pause the video also. I'll be back. Let's turn off the camera and mute it. Oh, I gotta pause. Excuse me. Okay. Anyways, I'm gonna keep on sneezing probably. I'm gonna resume the share if I can, because I need to be able to go through this. I'm gonna walk away for a second. It's horrible. Allergies, food, whatever. Okay, I'm back. Oh, Lord. Collecting and disseminating information to the LEA regarding effective family engagement practices. See, the state agency is supposed to be the technical assistance provider, basically helping to support the schools. But it's my understanding that here in Nevada, like I said, the questionable piece about all of those high poverty schools and the vacant slots and the inability to fill them with qualified teachers, and then the ability to put all those substitutes in. When they divvy up the services, they're divvying them up by you get so many people, and you get so many people, and you get so many people, and everybody gets an equal share of people. But see, it's not an equal share when you have somebody working in a GATE program where there's not a lot of poverty children, and it's become basically a gift, GT, gifted and talented services for people who want to get their children in those wonderful programs. Really, they just don't have an opportunity to look back because they're entitled. So it's just wonderful, and that's what's happened over time. And we can't pretend that people who actually understand the process and understand how the system works, that they should be faulted simply by knowing the rules. Excuse me. Allergies are real. So anyway, each state plan should describe how the state educational agency will support the collection and dissemination of the local educational agency schools' effective parent engagement strategies, including the parent and family engagement policy under 1116. Let me just say that, that piece, the engagement piece, is supposed to be educating parents, talking about the data, and ensuring that all children are benefiting. I mean, that's what public participation is. But, I get confused when people want to act like, it's a gift for them when their children ain't they're not benefiting. I mean, for them to talk about in the funding formula, whatever, the commission, to talk about funding schools with students as low as the number of 7 in a rural area. Of course, that could just be a one-room. I don't know. Maybe it's a whole building. I don't know what it looks like. But when they have 7 children and have a principal, and I don't know what that looks like. I really don't. But I do know what the homeless situation is in Nevada, and it's horrible for children. And once you're out there, you're out there. There ain't no coming back. I don't see any functional programs. And I asked this question: what is happening for the children up there in juvenile hall? Because ESSA had a big role in saying those children need to be processed and services need to be happening. But when you ask what's going on, there's nothing. I don't know nothing. And with the COVID virus, even if they let them go home, where can they go? Because there are rules about having people that are on parole or probation in family homes that are receiving aid. I don't know. People need to understand that, at the age in California, in Sacramento, if you are getting ready to turn 16 and you're not expected to graduate, then they report that to the welfare office. You could be dropped off your parents' aid unless they can prove that you're going to graduate high school. People who make these rules are not you, because guess what? You ain't participating. Y'all don't do no public policy. Girl, I ain't got no time to go to no meeting. No, you ain't got no time to go to no meeting. But see, even if it's you not paying in taxes, think about the money that's paid in taxes from people like Smokey Robinson or Michael Jackson, or, those tax revenues are still coming in. And then what they did to Michael and what they happened around Prince, and Whitney, shall we say? We can't say. Because guess what? We wasn't in the room, so you don't know shit. And in America, when they can say that, was it that boy in Florida and the guy having the right to just kill him? And then we've seen instances of people taking their own hand in the law. You know why? Because they get to do that, because that's who they are. They've been doing it for years. Let's not pretend Emmett Till didn't happen, and there was no conviction all around that. Just the mentality. Oh, it just kills me. I don't want to be so frustrated, because I would think what would happen to me and how I would handle that if it happened to one of my sons. I would be crazy. And just the mere fact that I think about that. And I used to tell my kids, it's yes, sir. I'm sorry, sir. Can I help you, sir? I'm sorry, sir. Is there something I've done wrong? Kiss that ass, because it's either kissing that ass or death. And isn't that how we have to teach our children? You can't just say anything. I've seen people who thought that they could say something to the police and they will whoop their ass. Just all of a sudden start plummeting, boom, 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 beating them up. And then, they have the right to do so because they are the enforcers and they act in enforcement in an enforcement manner. They're not protectors of the Black people. They're enforcers. They're overseers. Nothing has changed since the plantation. Just don't get caught out there, because if you're out there, it can happen to you. And that's just real. So, trying to sustain young African-American men when they need to have foundational support, and the world doesn't provide that. And it's all about understanding the rules and engaging in the process and engaging in the game. But if you don't read and you're not a reader, then you don't have to worry about it. But if you weren't in the house, how can you talk about it? That's what I want to know. There were never Black people in the State Board of Education unless they were sitting on the other side of the dais and had been appointed to participate in making rules that apply to everyone, not Black people. And even if they have concerns, guess what? They didn't get put on a board or participate in a committee because they were there for the Black people. So let's not pretend that the Civil Rights Act didn't happen in 1964. And shall we just pretend that the ADA, American with Disabilities Act, it happened in the 90s, and age discrimination. I mean, Congress does work on issues that affect all Americans. But if you don't accept the responsibility of being an American, meaning that hold yourself accountable, and it's difficult. I mean, I understand how people can't do it because they have children and if they have more than one. And just imagine more than one child in high school. That was such a financial burden on me. I just decided I would become a Vista. And I had a wonderful 2-year opportunity of volunteering in Service for America. And I actually earned $10,000 to go towards college. And then a program Elk Grove was running, BTTI, Elk Grove Business Institute. The guy in there, what he did was he took a loan for $11,000. I signed up for the program, and I thought he was telling me, "Oh yeah, you can do it." And he says, "Oh yeah, Microsoft certified engineer, you can do it. You can do it." I didn't have any kind of. It was a graduate program. I had no skills, no training, and all of the laws around that said that you had to have at least, a college degree. This MF took the loan on me, and within 30 days, I had to pay that money. And that took my whole, I hadn't even gotten one of the education awards, but that took the whole money. And then when I tried to advocate for myself, the board said, "Oh no, it's not our responsibility." And then, there was just no advocacy. And then, when I initially complained, he gave me back like $800. The program was $11,000. And I was only in the program for 2 months. So let's not pretend that the law is applied to you as an individual. It's not. I mean, same thing with the when they said, "Oh, you have breast cancer," and I said, "Okay." And he said, "See that dust?" I said, "Oh, I don't see that dust." He said, "Well, trying to explain to me. My sister came, my mother came. I had a mastectomy, and they didn't find any cancer." He said, "Oh, but we'll give you the chemo and you get the full regimen." And talk to the oncologist. "Aren't you afraid?" I said, "No, you took my titty, but I'm not afraid. You said it was there. You have no evidence. It wasn't in my lymph nodes. So what? How should I feel about that? I should feel that I'm blessed to still be here, and I am." And then I went to an oncologist here, and he was trying to prove to me that I should have the cancer, and that I was so lucky. I'm lucky because I'm blessed by God, and I'm here, and He has me here for a reason. So I'm trying to be very careful during this COVID so that I can continue to talk about brick and mortar schools and where should we be as a people and where will we be? Because right now, in the most important time of American history, we're not talking about the education or lack of education for our children. We're just talking about police brutality. But guess what? They're in our public schools. They are getting some of the Title I money, some of the federal allocation dollars that we pay whenever we work. But that money comes back to local communities. And when it's distributed, just like in Ferguson, after they killed that young man, I will say that the city council met and they were issuing out contracts for 99 years to make sure the money did not go from whoever they were, because they knew that once Black people start participating on the city council, well, that would change everything. They would be able to redirect the money. But didn't that happen nationwide? It happened nationwide that all of a sudden there were no federal, state, and county jobs anymore, because those all went to contractors. And that's a Republican thing. But if you're not paying attention, you just notice that, less and less people were able to sustain themselves and didn't have a pension and didn't have a benefit. You see, when you take your tax dollars and you give it to corporations or businesses, well, they're not paying pensions for the people. So by the time the people get my age, well, what are they going to get? Especially when they're saying Social Security's running out. I just don't know anymore. I think that, it's not a Democrat or Republican thing, it's an American thing. And in America, we need to make sure that the American thing continues, because we are all here now and we are not going anywhere. But what we need to do as a people is show up and demand accountability. Zero tolerance is unacceptable, because your job is not to tolerate. Your job is to train and to measure the benefit of the maintenance of effort. And if you don't have any data that demonstrates you actually did something, then that shit didn't happen. And that's just real. I mean, we were supposed to have a meeting today with one of the people, one of the children, parents that I helped support. And the teacher's going to say that, we had a Zoom meeting. And, I tried to log in before 11, but then I realized that I had not tried to log in again after 11. So at about 11:15 or so, I tried to log in and I got the same error code. There was an error in the code to join the meeting. So then he politely lets me know that the meeting was over and that, that was the reason I couldn't log in. No, that wasn't the reason. The reason was it was never an intention, really. And I said, well, if you had a Zoom meeting, well, where is you know, your minutes? I mean, where's your video? Because if you had a meeting, then you obviously said something. And then obviously we would know you could just share the meeting, just like I'm going to share this video after I'm recording it. But no, there's no evidence that any of her children actually are participating in an online school program because Sacramento just didn't have any. I mean, the closest to online support that was happening was where my son was, science and engineering, because that had Google Classroom and he learned how to write well. Because in the 7th grade, when we got there, Tyler had this teacher, he said, Ms. Anderson, Ms. Anderson, all the time. And I knew it was a reflection he didn't want to deal with me. But when he took and he wrote the assessment, he pretended he was my son and he wrote the work and the state assessed him that he didn't need no more English writing skills. Oh, baby, no. I filed a complaint because that's fraud. My son didn't take that test, he did. And I'm not stupid because I knew my son couldn't write in the 7th grade. He didn't know how to write. He couldn't even write a paragraph because, we'd barely gotten the missions project. But, I did the California missions project with my last child who was autistic. And I didn't get to do that with my older children. Actually, my son John, he was in the marching band and he was so gifted. I mean, I don't know. He got after high school, he went to City College and got a certificate. He completed that for web design or whatever. And so he's got a lot of skills. I'm not concerned about the opportunities that my children will have. I'm concerned about the opportunities of most children that are being failed through the lack of oversight for, for the states to ensure that all children have access. Oh, let's not pretend that we can't pretend that Trump didn't say something right about those fires down there when it burned all that land, because there used to be maintenance in the forestry. They used to hire young people to go out there and work and do some of that maintenance and stuff. They just let it go. Too much money. Too much of an investment. We have to have an investment in America. Just like, why didn't they fix the water system in Flint? And why is it not fixed now? Is it something that they can't do? Because remember, there were towns where there was toxicity and whatever, and they had to shut those towns down. So I believe there are towns in America that were just shut down because of, chemical spills or whatever. It's too much to know. So I have to go back down to the basics. How is the state of Nevada measuring the maintenance of effort of the children from 1st to 3rd grade? And where are our children in comparison to all the rest of the children? And how are they providing support at the local school sites? And where's that data? Because it doesn't exist. And, when the superintendent came to the NAACP meeting and he talked about the fifth grade by, what should happen before the 5th grade? No, tell me what's happening by the 3rd grade. And what do you plan to change? Because I thought that was kind of ludicrous what he said. But it didn't matter what I thought. The deal was that the people in the room wanted to talk about what was happening at one of their schools where people were riding around with, Southern flags and, it just never stops. It just never stops. And it's not going to stop until Congress creates an act in which law enforcement cannot take it in their own hand and oppress and abuse people during arrest. It's just not, it's the slamming of the child on the ground, and it's the slamming of the black men down, and it's the punching to the black women and the punching to the black children. I mean, it's the physical abuse. It's just, I can't see it anymore because I see it every day. And there's just no redirection in that behavior. And there's just something that they're allowed to do. And it's crazy, is what it is. Because crazy is living in America without the ability to advocate, to ensure that the dollars coming to your community are benefiting. And why do people just get to have these retirements and all these lush, wonderful things when they're failing to complete a concept of why they even had a job? It's not working. It's broken. The system is broken. So like I say, is the brick and mortar broken? For us, it is. Because, what was the evidence of maintenance after Brown versus the Board of Education for our people? I want to know. And why is it that we are the highest number of children who are incarcerated in juvenile halls? And why is it that our children, so few are reaching minimal standards in the educational system here in Clark County? Somebody needs to tell me that, because, it's the same money that's generating money for all the children. And they like to divvy it up equal, no matter what your disability is. Everybody gets a little equal share. So that's how they do it. And that's the criminal piece. Because it's not equal if you have 7 children in the school, and the same school in the inner city has, 400 or 500, maybe 600, maybe 7, maybe 1,000, maybe 1,500. I don't know. But there are a lot of children here in Clark County. But there's a difference when you place seasoned professionals in a placement where high poverty children are, and there's actually some strategy going on, versus allowing people to pick where they want to work and to pick and choose out of professional development and get it for free, basically, and give nothing back to the system. So there's nothing coming into the Black community, nothing, because it's a fucking joke, boom. It's sad. I just can't get it. I can't get how people allow their children to receive the letter grade of F. And understand, that's why we have these babies committing suicide. How can they do any better? How can they do any better? I don't see it. All right. The Department of Office of Student Supports offers an array of programs and works in a partnership with schools and districts, providing improved teaching and learning to help students achieve in their safe academic challenge. See, this is the issue. Because, the one time I was working in Sacramento, he was doing third grade work, second and third grade work in the 8th grade. So maybe he didn't reach 6th grade. I don't believe he reached the 6th grade by the 12th grade. But irregardless, he had a processing disorder. He finally got him diagnosed to have autism, or in the spectrum of autism, and they said he was intellectually disabled, ID. Okay, so, somebody at the State Department told me, usually when the ID evaluation happens earlier in life, and then they provide a lot more support. Well, he had speech and language, but you couldn't measure anything that the district was doing, because he was basically a strong-willed child, just doing whatever the hell he wanted to do every day and didn't want to follow no rules. So eventually what happened was there was an allegation that he borrowed someone's phone without their permission. And somehow it came down to a strong armed robbery charge. And before we knew it, he was in juvenile hall, and the parent wasn't even notified. So there was no manifestation hearing. There was nothing. There was just an arrest, which showed me exactly what was happening in Sacramento in order to resolve the issue of having to report out to the community the number of children who were being expelled from the public schools. Just averts that problem. It just, ends it. They don't have to even go through an expulsion. when the student is arrested and put in juvenile hall, they don't have to do nothing. They don't even have to explain themselves, because then, that's something that happened in the community, and it's just a reflection of whatever's going on in the community. It's just a sad situation, because these resource officers are taking away the educational opportunities. Why are they so involved in special education? Why are they involved in public education in the first place? I mean, this officer claims that the student that he was, uh, uh, the reason why he arrested this student was communication handicapped. And I said, well, the student that you're going after, he's got the same disability. Didn't mean anything to him. No, because they still have that kid in jail. Finally, we wrote and we concerns, must have wrote everybody. But anyways, he was released. Then he would wear an ankle monitor. So his mother had to prove that she really did have control over him. And then even after he's not there anymore, well, the district disenrolled him, so they have to re-enroll him. But during that time, he was even qualified for a vocational educational plan. One that we could actually do an assessment and do a placement for job training. That didn't happen. No, he was just put in juvenile hall. But I have fought with other parents, Yvonne Kemper Wilson. They came after her. They wanted to expel her daughter. So she got her daughter out of Sacramento and took that child to another state. And the child was going to graduate. And the superintendent, Saxony Unified School District, tried to call the other state and deny that child the opportunity to graduate. Superintendent, where the child was, just chose not to do it. You see? It's understanding what the rules are. Because we had that expulsion overturned in the county level. But, when people say that they get to do whatever they get to do, they just get to do it. You know why? Because they're the ones stepping up to do it. You ain't. And you don't even know you have a right to it because you don't even show up. So if you don't show up, if we don't start showing up, and this is 2020, then what did the Civil Rights Act of 1964 actually mean? Because we still don't have a voice. And our children still failing in public schools. And the harvest is still us. So until we change it by stepping up, and I do mean, we have a lot to lose. Trump said, what do you have to lose? We have a lot to lose. But see, this whole piece, this engagement, is just supposed to be around spending the money. But it doesn't even say that. Nowhere in here does it talks about activities to organize around the academic support, but it really just doesn't go into detail. Just kind of like, if you don't show up, it's okay. And it's not. So I think that if you get a chance, you should get on the internet and read this, Every Child Succeed Act, and what it actually calls for. And so if you're understanding that, barriers to the greater participation by parent activities authorized by this section with particular attention to parents who are economically disadvantaged or disabled or have a limited English proficiency, limited literacy, or for any other racial or ethnic minority background. So, it's covering you in here, but you don't know it's covering you. Because, you can't be apologizing for being homeless and having it affect your school, your children's education, if there are no resources in the community for you to access. It's kind of like get a clue. Can we get a clue? I don't know. Can we get a clue now? Because everything is shut down, which forces you to reassess where you are. Can we actually get a clue to people? Will we have an opportunity to have a voice in the outcomes of public education and how that is happening? Because, that's what life's about. Involving yourself in the outcomes of whatever services you choose to do as a person or as a people. And anyway, there's plenty of law here. I don't know how many pages this is, but it's the federal law. Shared responsibility for a high student academic achievement. Now, I wonder who has that shared responsibility. I'll read this paragraph. Let's do it. It says, As a component of school-level parent and family engagement policy developed under this Section B, each school served under the part shall jointly develop with the parents for all children served under this part in the school parent compact outlines how parents and the entire school staff and the students will share the responsibility for improved student academic achievement. And that means that by the school and the parents will build and develop a partnership to help the children achieve the state's high standards, and the compact shall. And it reads what the compact shall do, but guess what? None of this makes a difference if you don't know you're supposed to be there. And that's just right. So, when you have people who are appointed to be in positions over government, that means that they're appointed to ensure that you have access. They don't have a responsibility because there's no requirement for third-party providers to ensure that you have access. It's, whatever. All right, building capacity. A lot of these you should know. And then it just family engagement programs. And, come on now. And then it just has the law. And, like I said, when they have so many positions at the higher poverty schools, program improvement schools, and those positions are unfillable, and the teachers union realizes that they have choice where they want to work, and shouldn't they have the right to choose where they want to work? Well, I guess you would, as long as you are not taking Title I money and misapplying it to where you are. If you're hired under Title I to help those children over there. A lot of people get paid with the word Title I, the federal, but when you talk to them, they don't know anything about Title I. They just know they got a job. And they can really, they can really sympathize with you, but they really can't tell you anything. And I don't need them to tell me anything. I just want to know where the data is and why they're not doing it. That's what I want to know. How is it they can get to choose who they support and who they won't support? And how is it these people don't even understand that they have basic rights to foundational, foundational services to ensure that access happens. After 12 years of public education, that's 12 years of someone's life salaries, generational. How many generations? Every 12 years, new babies, and zero accountability. It just doesn't work for me because this is 2020, and I don't expect to have to cow down or refuse to or ignored because we all have a right and responsibility. And as citizens, I haven't seen a whole lot of that in Nevada's understanding of the public responsibility, but the public responsibility, and how the superintendent, how the governor has appointed so many commissions and commissioners and boards and stuff, but there's just no accountability for the federal outcome. So there's no federal guidance. And there's no federal guidance when people are trying to determine a new definition of at-risk. And how can they determine that when it's already been worked out by the federal government? But they have some lofty ideas for it. And they do what they want to do. This is a we the people state, and we do what we want to do. Well, you're doing that, and I'm doing what I want to do too, because I'm talking about we the people. We the people are not doing correctly what they should be doing because they're not providing support to all the children. And if they are, then you need to demonstrate how they're doing it every year, at the end of the year. By, there's a process in which you need to demonstrate that you're getting the money and you're making a difference for certain people. But if you can't demonstrate that you're making a difference for all the people, especially the children who are generating the money, are you serious? Are you serious? You just want free money? You're just entitled to that retirement? Just entitled. And you see, the COVID, what it did is it defined that across America in the bigger cities, that the public services weren't working because we were paying for public services. And that's all we were doing. So, but if they don't benefit anyone, what are we talking about? I think we're just talking about fraud. Over time, it just becomes fraud. It's just stealing the opportunities of people who need that opportunity. It's just kind of like, what they do here in the internet. Let's talk about it. Network administrators, because I understand. But you don't understand that you're part of the work group and policies are applied and elevated based on your behavior or based on your level of knowledge. Or, they can just take your computer offline and you just can't get it back on. And, I've had to learn. I'm not going to reinstall my computers anymore, but I am going to demand that when I pay for a service, I can access it, period. And when I purchase something, that it remains my piece of property as long as it's in my home, period. And I expect to get on the internet and participate or talk as I have a First Amendment right to do and share my content. But I can tell you this, I don't care who you are. We didn't walk together these last 30 years, and I know that I have been involved in so many programs, so many opportunities where we are not. And we are not means that we have no oversight, no voice, no involvement. We're just having failed services. So local educational agency that does not operate a website. In case of a local educational agency that does not operate a website, the such local agency shall determine how to make the information described widely available, such as through distribution of media and public agencies directly to parents. See, if they don't have no policy or whatever, it's just not cool to stream the board meeting and then not upload it, not save it. But hey, teach is up. So you have to make time in your life to understand what's going on. So you have to participate. And you have to be a part of things. But you have to know what the conversation is. So that's why I keep abreast about what's going on. Because, you can't make a decision unless you actually know what's going on. Parent participation, what is it? Inputs. Look at this. Checklist for effective parent engagement. It's a joke because it doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. And even if it did, where's their accountability to the student achievements? Just where's their accountability? There is none. So it has some typical things that you might like to think about, engaging your parents and keeping your parents abreast about what's going on with their children and if they're making progress at school, if they're not. And if they're struggling, just quite frankly, how do you turn that around? Well, a lot of teachers do have a lot of skills and a lot of support that they could be giving, but they're not going to give it unless you demand it. So anyways, it's a template for Title I. And, it just goes on. How are you going to document what you're doing? How do they document what they're doing? They don't document what they're doing. I've been through a school plan. I don't know if I can find one right now. But, this is what Nevada put out. So it's got a lot of pages. Translations for Title I, parent games, vendor program, family workshops, materials, printing, communication, district, family coordinators. This is how they divvy up the money. And they pay people out of Title I. And they really do pay people out of Title I. Does it benefit you? Can you see the benefit? I don't think so. And so anyways, let's see. Does LEA Family Engagement Policy describe the purpose of the policy? And then it has the law. And then it says put a brief overview on the right-hand side. So, it talks about describe how parents and family members will be involved in the development of the local educational agency plan and develop the supports and improvements of the plan. That's just everything you need to know because you need to know what they're doing with the children and how they plan on supporting them. And see, this is just so basic that it leaves a lot to the imagination, but a lot that doesn't happen because they don't do that. They don't do what they're asking and they're saying that they're supposed to be doing, they're not doing it because you can't find it. And so, what should we say? Technical assistance, annual evaluations, it just has no data. Oh my goodness, another person who looks like me on the family engagement. Is that encouragement piece? I don't know. Encourage. you first need to understand that the responsibility to ensure that progress is happening certainly comes from who? You. Look at this. This district meeting, May 22nd, 2020. Meaningful opportunities for meeting consultation. All parents are welcome to hear the latest updates from the ARM Achieve County School District, as well as review the provide input for the district family engagement policy. Well, they're going to do this in May, on May the 22nd. And then they have this school improvement forum. Well, I missed that one. It was May 1st to the 2nd. During this week, each Title I school will host a forum. Well, that just never happened. That probably just didn't happen because of COVID, right? But they could have had it if they had been really doing it. And then so this is if you're unable to attend the meeting and review, you can review this something here. And I don't know what that is, but I'll have to go back and check and see if I can get in there. But anyways, talks about building capacity. And it acts as if this is really a functional plan, but it's really not functional because I can't have a conversation with anybody about what's happening around Title I and what's happening around the failure and where is the data and why do they have such a huge percentage of behavioral infractions, 259% in their 2024 plan. But, hey, who am I? Don't get it. And then so it tells you about this wonderful school plan for family engagement. You just have to check yourself and see if it ever actually happened. And it just doesn't seem that it happens. And then they have a lot of resources where you can go and look. And I'm just going to tell you, for we the people, they used to say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America evermore, because we went through this educational system, and I know we all know it. We also need to know that comes with personal responsibility of public policy and oversight and engagement. And otherwise, we are just like the people in the Boston Tea Party. We need to have a tea party and throw out all the rules that they use to oversee us and demand that we have the same level outcomes for our people as all other people in different community and different ethnic backgrounds. Hell, what do you call those, bilingual or ESL children or English second language children? They have all kind of federal money that goes to help transition those families supposedly to English once they've allowed them to come in here. I can say that the most important thing that I have gotten through my journey is to ensure that all parents understand that they have a responsibility. And their personal responsibility is to understand what public policy is and how to engage and to ensure that access happens for all people who look like them. One person is just not enough. And even if one person is talking, it's enough to start a conversation. But we all have a personal responsibility to engage in the oversight and the standards of services that are happening for our community. Why do we have so many children who are undereducated after all of the investment of Head Start, Early Head Start, preschool, and all of those monies just for basic education? And then at the end of the line, so many of those kids just didn't make it. Well, what happens to those kids, and where's the responsibility for the support for those children? Somebody needs to help me, because why are we having federal programs that are not functional and with no ability to critique the process? That's my concern. So anyways, this is my critique of the process, and I'm glad that I started before you. And understand that this meeting is coming up, and I suggest you go to the State Board of Education and look at their website. And when it says stream, join in the stream. Put your name in. Drop in. And you can ask any questions that you want to ask prior to the meeting, because you can email your questions. You see, there are other ways of participating, but we have to understand that we still have to participate. And in order to ensure that if you do have grandchildren, that they'll have access to public services. that we all pay for, especially poorer people pay more in taxes than rich people. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure they're not all paying, large amount of money to the public taxpayer. But, a lot of our people just don't play the game. They don't look for the loopholes. They're just trying to survive. They don't have time to they try not to be a part of the system. Definitely. See, the PTA, the National Standards for Family and Community Partnerships, come from the PTA. The PTA is the Parent and Family Involvement piece who was created by understanding Black people. Black folks created it, they're just not there anymore. Black people don't have time. The struggle is too great. But it doesn't mean that it's impossible. You have to make the time and understand that if your child's enrolled in one of those programs in an educational agency where you have not seen a maintenance of effort, and it's been so difficult to understand if your child's learning or your child's below basic, then find a great online program and transfer. Leave. Run. Don't wait. But you still have a personal responsibility to find something that's functional, not something that's going to take away an opportunity. My goodness. It's time for us all to step up and just be Americans. It's not a Democrat thing. It's not a Republican thing. It's a human thing. I don't want to see my children gunned down in the street because they failed to follow a compliance issue by somebody who has an 8th grade education level. And that's just real. Because the more ignorant they are, the more abusive they are. And that's just real. We see it every day. But what happens to people who have that outrageous behavior of aggression and acting like they get to do that? And like, that stuff that happened in Georgia recently, very troubling. You know why troubling? Because that was a father and son act. And I think it was something, a recruitment tool on what they do to stop people from breaking in. Really? Guess what? That's what insurance is for. Pay your goddamn insurance. And that way you don't have to worry about the people that you don't bother to insure to have basic level skills after someone has just laid all over the place, ate snacks and read their coffee. I mean, just had no personal responsibility for their placement in life. So why do we still have so many people that are failing? Where is the oversight? How do you engage the oversight process? Somebody needs to help me with that because it has to do with public involvement. It has to do with public engagement. It has to do with personal responsibility. And do you just have the time? Because if you don't have the time, and you still should make time, that's horrible because other people are doing it. And they're making time, but guess what? They've created all these wonderful opportunities for them to sustain themselves on the children, on your backs of your children who are not making it. But then there's all these other third-party providers that are all involved and they're all getting paid. But when it comes down to it, it's a Stephon Clark shooting, right? Or a Philando Castile shooting. Or, when I went down the list about all the babies that have been killed, and I just say, when are we going to stand together to stop the massacre of our people? And when are we going to have the right to question the process of failed services? When do we have the right to question the offer of a free and appropriate public education if it's not appropriate? And it's not appropriate. It's not appropriate to promote someone knowing that they're not meeting the minimal standards and knowing that they won't be able to participate next year. And then the hiding starts to go on. It's just disgusting. It disgusts me. That's why I have to do these videos. Because building capacity for involvement to ensure effective involvement of parents to support partnership among the school-involved parents and the community to improve student academic achievement in school and local educational assist under this framework. Not when they don't have the responsibility for you. I'll tell you that. Because when they don't have responsibility for you, they won't even talk to you. They don't bother to call you back. They don't bother to respond to your emails. They don't bother to respond to your complaints because guess who are you? Just a pain in the ass. Well, they've been getting this money for free for a long time. Who are you to question it? I'm just nobody. But I'm one of God's nobodies. And I understand what's going on. So I'm going to question it. And I'm going to document that I did question it. And I'm going to encourage you to become more engaged. Because if you, and you know, being that COVID did happen, and being that now you can really see the indifference and the commitment to your children. If your children can't read basically and write at grade level, then they can't engage in the process. And so, how do we help to move a community forward? Well, the only thing I know is we have to spark the conversation. And, I'm not confused in leadership. I'm not confused about what a leader is. I'm not confused about who I am, because guess what? We're only here for a short time. But if you refuse to get up and participate in the process, then you can't lead anybody anywhere because you're not doing it. And we don't just get to sit back and complain. No, because there's so much more work to do. And so we have young, gifted people who should be engaged in activities like Barack Obama has going on, and different, people who have committed themselves to building capacity within the states. And people should join those organizations to ensure that, just to ensure that functionality happens in America. We don't know what's going to happen behind this COVID, but, it's affecting the whole world. But the whole world was corrupt. When it came to certain people, the world was corrupt. And it still is. So we're still going to work on what happens for the homeless, and because as long as COVID is around, America's going to be forced to pay attention to the least of us, or to the least of these. And if they choose to ignore that people don't have shelter, don't have food, don't have resources, then guess what? The virus doesn't stop. So guess what? Welcome to America. That's what I'll say. Welcome to America. For my people who thought that they would not participate in public policy, understand that they need to stand up and find out the public policy areas around failed services for children from 0 to 3rd grade, and then the turnaround supports that they plan on implementing from 3rd to 6th grade. And you need to be able to see the data, because you need to be able to see the work. And we need to stop what's happening is the filling up of the prisons. We have a prison nation. We have the highest rate of incarceration of free people. And they're not free. They're incarcerated. But this too will change, because we're living in God events, all those fires, and we just can't pretend that we have been living right as a people. So we're not going to be feeling it's real. So I'm going to stop for now and tell you to sign on my YouTube channel, and I have a Facebook page, and follow me. But most of all, you don't have to follow me, but educate yourself and understand that when you're supporting children and families in schools, that the participation of people who look like you is critical, because the voice of people who look like you is critical to ensure success happens for people who look like you. And we do have some successful people. The problem is that we've been losing more than gaining. So I'm going to sign up for now. And I hope that you continue to follow me. And if you don't follow me, then follow someone. But just don't listen to the television, because Dick Gregory said the television was to tell lies. And I can believe that. And so, there's not a Donald Trump thing about, he's always scared of being persecuted, but he's so ignorant. You pray about it. You just don't say, you just don't pretend that you have a disability when you don't. Just don't act that out, because irregardless, they're still God's children, and that's just real. And all children can learn. It's just, how do you hold yourself accountable to ensure that the maintenance of effort is happening for all children? That's what I want to know. So until I get on and feel like venting again, I'm gonna log off. And if you have any questions, and I will try and put this document in the video when I upload it to YouTube. So at least in the comments, so you can see what I saw. And until the next time, I'm signing off. Stop, share, and in the recording, make sure you follow the enlightenment, meaning that it's a new world order. A new world order, a brand new day. It is a new world order. And I'll see you soon.